They will tell you that true power comes from kindness, from generosity, from showing compassion. But Machiavelli, the master of power, saw the truth that no one else dares to speak, the truth that kindness weakens and cruelty preserves, the truth that power demands cruelty, not as blind savagery, but as the cold, calculated strike that secures survival. Because every ruler who believed compassion alone would hold an empire was betrayed by the very people they spared. Every leader who showed too much mercy was overthrown by those who interpreted kindness as weakness, and history bleeds with their names. Caesar pardoned his enemies and was stabbed in the Senate. Emperors forgave traitors only to be poisoned by their cups. Kings showed mercy to rebels, and rebellion multiplied because mercy teaches men that the ruler is soft, that his hand trembles, that his sword hesitates. But cruelty teaches finality. Cruelty teaches that betrayal will be punished. Cruelty teaches that testing the ruler means certain death, and in that lesson lies peace, stability, survival. This is why Machiavelli insisted that cruelty well used is more merciful than endless kindness badly used, because one decisive punishment prevents years of chaos, one swift strike silences countless betrayals, one act of cruelty saves 1,000 lives by making rebellion unthinkable, and the naive may call this harsh, but harshness is the nature of reality. Wolves are not tamed by kindness, serpents are not calmed by soft words, and men are not loyal by choice. They are loyal by necessity, by fear, by consequence. Machiavelli taught that fear lasts longer than love, and cruelty is the weapon that forges fear into obedience. Power does not survive on gratitude because gratitude dies quickly. Gratitude vanishes when ambition whispers. Gratitude fades when temptation appears, but fear endures. Fear anchors loyalty. Fear makes men calculate before they betray, and that calculation saves the ruler's life. Cruelty is not endless slaughter. Cruelty is not madness. Cruelty is discipline. Cruelty is control. Cruelty is the shield of the ruler and the chain around the hearts of men. Without it, the throne is fragile, the kingdom unstable, the crown already broken. Power demands cruelty, because cruelty is the only language human nature understands when ambition awakens, and human nature has not changed. Not in Machiavelli's time. Not now. Not ever. Men are selfish, fickle, ungrateful, and dangerous, and to rule them you cannot rely on illusions of goodness. You must rely on the certainty of fear. Cruelty reminds them of consequences when loyalty fails. Cruelty locks doors that kindness leaves open. Cruelty kills betrayal before it matures. And if you want to survive in this brutal world, if you want to rise above those who smile while plotting your fall, if you want to build something that cannot be broken, you must embrace the law Machiavelli revealed, the law that has outlived kings, empires, and centuries, the law that still rules the dark psychology of power. Power demands cruelty. Cruelty is the foundation upon which lasting power is built. Not because cruelty is admired, but because cruelty is feared, and fear is the only currency of obedience. Machiavelli saw that rulers who relied on love ruled only until love turned to envy or hatred, but rulers who ruled with fear held power, even when they were despised, because hatred can burn silently, but fear paralyzes action. Mercy creates hope in the hearts of enemies, but cruelty crushes hope before it grows. Mercy gives rivals courage, but cruelty steals it instantly. Mercy says, maybe you can challenge me and survive. But cruelty says, challenge me, and you will not live to regret it. This is why cruelty becomes the silent guardian of power. Because its presence alone prevents rebellion, Machiavelli warned that cruelty delayed becomes cruelty multiplied. If you hesitate to punish the guilty, you will soon punish the innocent, because rebellion spreads like fire. One spark overlooked becomes an inferno that consumes nations. But if you stamp it out at once with decisive cruelty, the fire dies in silence. Mercy is weakness, because it trades decisive action for temporary praise. Cruelty is strength, because it trades temporary hatred for permanent stability. The wise ruler understands this law and acts upon it. He strikes only when necessary, but when he strikes, he does not hesitate. He does not forgive. He does not show weakness. He ensures that betrayal pays with blood, so that others never dare to pay that price again. Cruelty becomes mercy when it saves lives through fear. Mercy becomes cruelty when it costs lives through weakness. Think of the rulers who tried kindness. They are remembered not for their nobility, but for their downfall. Think of those who wielded cruelty with calculation. They are remembered not as kind, but as enduring cruelty. Keeps men silent where love makes them bold. Cruelty binds them to obedience, where loyalty breaks them free. Cruelty is not chaos. Cruelty is order, because in a world filled with ambition, greed, and betrayal, order cannot be bought with kindness. It must be enforced with power, and power demands cruelty. Machiavelli explained that rulers must be both fox and lion, cunning enough to recognize traps, but strong enough to crush wolves. Cruelty is the lion's roar, the act that ends doubt, the strike that ends disobedience. It is the clarity of survival in a world where hesitation means death. Machiavelli's psychology of power is not about sadism, it is about realism. The realist knows that men are not noble by nature. They are dangerous by nature. They are not loyal by choice. They are loyal by necessity, and necessity is enforced through fear. Cruelty is the sword that cuts ambition before it can grow. Cruelty is the chain that locks betrayal before it can strike. Cruelty is the shield that protects the throne from whispers in the dark and knives in the night. Without it, every ruler is naked, no matter how many love him, no matter how many praise him. Cruelty ensures survival, because survival is not about being loved, it is about being untouchable. Mercy seeks admiration, cruelty demands obedience. Mercy wins hearts, cruelty saves lives. Mercy loses empires, cruelty builds them. And this is the untold law of survival that Machiavelli revealed, the law that still rules in silence, the law that every strong leader knows in his bones. Power demands cruelty. In the end, the brutal truth cannot be softened. Power does not survive on kindness, it survives on cruelty. Not because cruelty is beautiful, but because cruelty is necessary. The ruler who forgets this is already doomed, because mercy creates cracks in the foundation, and through those cracks betrayal seeps in, poisoning the throne until it collapses. Machiavelli forced us to confront what most men refuse to accept, that the world is not governed by morality, but by fear, not by compassion, but by control, not by promises, but by consequences, and cruelty is the instrument that makes those consequences real. Cruelty is not endless slaughter. Cruelty is not chaos. Cruelty is the decisive strike that ends rebellion before it spreads. Cruelty is the punishment that silences traitors. Cruelty is the act that makes men think twice before they dare to move against you. Mercy lets enemies breathe. Cruelty steals their breath. Mercy gives rivals tomorrow. Cruelty ends them today. Mercy makes men test limits. Cruelty erases limits forever. This is why power demands cruelty, because cruelty is the armor of the ruler, the invisible wall that protects him even when hatred grows. Because hatred without courage is harmless, and cruelty ensures courage never rises. Hatred can exist in silence, but fear commands in silence. Mercy may buy applause, but cruelty buys survival, and applause does not matter when the dagger comes. Survival does cruelty, may make men despise you, but it also makes them obey you. And obedience is the only path to stability. Machiavelli knew that the prince who wants to endure cannot be blinded by the illusions of morality. He must see men as they are: selfish, fickle, greedy, ungrateful, and dangerous. And when you see men as they are, you understand why cruelty is not a choice, it is a law. The law of power, the law of survival. Mercy may feel noble, but nobility is meaningless when your enemies sharpen their knives. Nobility is meaningless when your rivals poison your cup. Nobility is meaningless when mercy leaves you defenseless and the vultures descend. Cruelty makes you feared, and when you are feared, you are safe, Even if you are hated, mercy makes you loved, until you are weak, and then you are dead. Power does not demand love. Power does not demand loyalty. Power demands cruelty, because cruelty secures fear, and fear secures obedience, and obedience secures the throne. This is why the legacies of merciful rulers are forgotten. But the legacies of ruthless rulers endure. They may not be loved, they may not be praised, but they are remembered because they survived, and survival is the only true measure of power. Machiavelli's untold law is not a suggestion. It is a command. Mercy is weakness. Cruelty is strength. Mercy is suicide. Cruelty is survival. Mercy is the illusion of power. Cruelty is the reality of power, and in this world, only reality matters. In the end, you must decide whether you want to be loved for a moment or feared for eternity, because one choice will bury you, and the other will make you. Eternal power demands cruelty,